If I asked you to think of the ultimate Seiko dive watch, what would it be? For me, it would be this Marinemaster 300 or this SLA023J1. Let's find out why in this long-term review. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any reviews, head-to-head or quick time. And follow me on Instagram and come along on my watch collecting journey. This was my first luxury watch. It was also my first monocoque case watch. And my first saturation dive watch. And my first watch with a premium movement inside. Phew, that was many firsts. It was also this watch that gave me a gut-wrenching feeling when I purchased it. You know that feeling you get when you buy something so expensive, yet so unnecessary, like a luxury watch? Yep, that feeling. For me, this is the ultimate Seiko dive watch for many reasons. It is the perfect balance between achievability, functionality, and refinement. If you go for the LX line, those are twice the price of this. If you go for the 1000-meter tuner, those are uniquely designed, yes, but they are much less versatile. And if you go for the 600 or 1000-meter divers from Seiko, those could be too expensive or too tall for everyday use. Hence, we have this, the perfect, the ultimate Seiko dive watch. Let's start off with the case design. The Marinemaster 300 line comes with a brush top that runs down towards the lugs. It transitions sharply into an angled Zaratsu polished surface, which then transitions sharply into a slim brush line that breaks the polishing. The slim line transitions yet again into a polished surface, and that completes the lugs. If we look at it from the side, we can see that the whole thing is like a stubby looking triangle with multiple facets, making it look more like a gemstone cut rather than a watch lug. If we go back to the top of the lug and trace it to the side of the case, we have yet another gem-like faceting with multiple finishes. Again, it all starts off with a brush top that transitions into an outward sloping Zaratsu polished surface that is broken up by a slim horizontal brush line. From here, the case slopes back inside the case perimeter before getting a raised step that forms the flat monocoque case back. This inward slope receives just a regular polishing instead of the Zaratsu polish we see on the top. The back of this case is vertically brushed with a polished Seiko wave in the middle. Phew, that is the most word I've ever used to describe a case. I hope that makes sense. Looking at the case head-on from between the lugs, we can see that Seiko has constructed this case with a thick midsection to house and protect the movement from side pressure during saturation diving, and raise the flat monocoque case back into step to protect it from the pressure along the bottom of the case. As for the top protection, we can see a thick piece of sapphire crystal that sits beneath the bezel edges, therefore protecting it from bumps on even surfaces. The crown on this watch is signed and sunken into the case, creating a natural protection without the need for a traditional crown guard. Moving on to the dimension and movement within this watch. This watch has a diameter of 44.3mm, lug width of 20mm, thickness of 15.4mm, and lug to lug of 50.5mm. Inside, the watch comes with a high-end 8L35 movement, which is essentially an undecorated and unregulated Grand Seiko 9S movement. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It comes with hacking and hand winding. It has an accuracy rating of +15 to -10 seconds per day and about a 50 hours power reserve. In my real-world use though, I get about +5 seconds per day. Overall, it has a great movement with dimension on the larger side. But we'll get into this later in the video of why this watch wears much smaller than the numbers might suggest. The dial on this watch is difficult to get right in videos. It is a subtle, sunburst blue dial with a hint of green in it. The blue dial, even under shade, still comes off as blue rather than black, as like with most other dark blue dial. The dial furniture seems to be applied rather than raised from behind. They are filled with a generous amount of lume. The printing on the dial is crisp. All the printing, apart from the word 300-meter, is in silvery white color. The 300-meter word is printed in gilt color that matches the seconds hand. The date wheel on the 8L35 is unique. It is a brushed silver metallic disc with raised sharp printing of the date number. The hour and minute hands are surprisingly faceted and have multiple finishes to boot. The top parts are finely brushed and the sides are polished. They come in a sword shape, with the hour hand being thicker and the minute hand being slimmer. The second hand is gilt, as mentioned, with pointy tips and broad counterbalance. However, it lacks any sort of visible finishing upon close inspection, but at normal viewing distance, it looks halfway between brushed and polished. The bezel on this watch is amazing. It is tall, so it is easy to grip. The numbers are also big enough to read at a glance. And there are hash marks all around the bezel, making it easy to tell how long you have been timing something. As for the bezel action, it feels smooth and springy, with alternating soft and loud click. It feels very different from a Swiss bezel action, which is loud and clicky, which is good because if you need to time something, it doesn't get the attention of the whole room on you. The bezel is also lume from the triangle to the 20-minute mark. I don't take this watch diving, ever, but I can assure you that the lume is bright and lasts all night. On the wrist, this watch wears much smaller than the dimensions suggest. This is due to two things. First, the lug-to-lug distance is relatively short. Second, the Zaratsu polish on this case reflects your arm so that it fools you into thinking that it is part of the case. When it is not reflecting your arms, it also just reflects everything around beautifully. As for the bracelet, it is very similar to that on the tuna I reviewed a while back. It has a form-fitting end link with a slight taper to the Marinemaster style ratcheting clasp. One key difference between this clasp and the one on the tuna is that this is fully stainless steel, while the tuna has a titanium and stainless steel combo. The ratcheting mechanism comes in handy quite often during the day, and especially when traveling to cold places and you just need an extension to put your watch over your thick coat. Overall, I love this watch. After 1 year and 7 months of owning it, I still find it very enjoyable to wear. Some might feel like the omission of the Marinemaster text on the dial takes away from the watch appeal, but for me, that is the cherry on top rather than the essence of this watch. This watch has its own appeal with multiple finishes, complex faceting, and alluring dial proportion. I highly recommend this watch to anyone looking to get into a functional, luxury tool watch that you wouldn't mind getting it all scratched up. Stay tuned for my next video and don't forget to like, subscribe and share this review with your friends. Also follow me on Instagram and see you next time. Peace.